Listen, this really warms my heart to see hundreds of people here on the town green standing up for diversity, standing up for love, standing up for inclusion. And I'm sorry that I'm not in my Senate uniform. I am walking across the state of Connecticut this week. I started this morning in Danielson, and I'm on the back end of 24 miles today. If you want to stick around, I'm doing a town hall over at Eastern at 5:30, but this is more important. Stay here, stay here. It was just amazing. I mean, I walked over the bridge, I heard the honks, I saw the crowd, and it makes me just so proud to represent this community, to represent this state. I really mean it. It's right. It's right. It's really you that matters here, and so I don't want to take up too much time. But I just want to share a quick story with you. A few years ago, I had the honor to go on a civil rights pilgrimage to the South with John Lewis and a number of other civil rights leaders, Eleanor Holmes Norton. John Lewis deserves a round of applause. And John Lewis leads a trip like this every year, but it just so happened that he had never led a trip to Jackson, Mississippi. And Jackson is important for many reasons, but probably in John's mind, it's most important because one of his close friends, Medgar Evers, was shot in his driveway on his way home. And John had never been to Jackson since that murder. And we visited the home of Medgar Evers, and it's just a sight to see. It's preserved as it was that night. The children didn't sleep on beds, they slept on mattresses on the floor because things would come through the windows at nights, and so the kids couldn't be sleeping at night at the level of the bed the beds would have them at. They had to be on the floor. And as you stand on Medgar Evers' driveway, his blood is still soaked in to the cement, into the concrete. It never ever was washed out. And as we stood there with John, tears rolled down his face, and it was obvious why. One, because he was looking at a part of his friend that was still there, permanently enmeshed in the concrete, but also because he knew that the work that he was and still is a part of, the work that his friend Medgar had been fighting for, is still broadly undone. That as much progress as we have made, all that happened was that much of that racism and misogyny and anti-Semitism, it just went underground, right? It didn't disappear. It just realized that it couldn't exist in polite company. And over the last 8 years, it became part of legitimate political opposition, right? There's no way to explain the ferocity of animosity towards Barack Obama, towards his presidency, without understanding racism at part of its root. Not all of it, but it became legitimized. And what makes me so angry, is that part of the fuel that married together political opposition to the president and that quiet, latent racism was the work of our current president. His birther campaign was one of the matchsticks that lit a fuse that combined political opposition to the president with that underlying quiet racism that had existed and still exists in so many parts of our country. And so I know today we're so mad at this guy for not speaking out and calling terrorism by its name, calling out white supremacism, calling out neo-Nazis. But as Dennis said, this guy is 71 years old. We can hope that he's going to change, but he probably isn't, right? So we have to look at ourselves, and we have to start at home, right? Let's admit that we have enormous amounts of work to do here in Connecticut, right? Right? Look around you, right? We are still one of the most segregated states in the country, right? We still If you are a black family that goes to look to buy a house in this state, you are pointed to certain neighborhoods, right? You are not pointed to other neighborhoods. If you're a black child going to school in this state and you commit an offense inside a classroom, you are twice as likely to get suspended or expelled from school as a white student who commits the exact same offense. This is real. This is happening in our state, right? And so we need to be active. We need to resist at the federal level. I hope I'm standing up and raising my voice as loud as it can be, but we have stuff to do here. But we have work to do here. And so my heart is warmed by seeing the turnout today. I know there are similar vigils happening all over the state, but it is a wake-up call to remind us that there is still so much work to be done. And some of it can happen in Washington, but much of it can happen here. It just so happened that today I was ending here, but I want to do this in concert with you. I want to lift my voice as loud as it can be in Washington, and I want you to be what drives that. So I'm gonna hang around for a little while, and then I'm gonna go finish the rest of my walk. I've done let's see, I've done 47,000 steps so far today, and I got a few more to go. So again, thank you everybody. Let's do some good work together.